to the Ninth Island with your Samoan Raider, and I got my co-host with me.
Mr. Fitz, y'all know what it is.
And we got a very special guest today. Crazy fact is, he was actually the first guest we had in this studio when we finally had somebody over here. But everybody knows him. We got none other than Big Bidy Cisco up in the building, man.
What's up, my brothers? How y'all doing?
We're good. How about you, man?
Busy and blessed. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know you've been busy. You've been a busy guy lately. A lot of things have been going on.
Yeah.
But I know first and foremost, it's a big week this week because it's your birthday.
Yeah.
So happy early birthday. I don't know. When's your birthday?
My actual birthday's on the 21st, but we do the Palms every first Thursday, so we might as well just move it up a little bit.
Yeah. So happy.
That's around my birthday.
Yeah, okay,
27th.
See? Come on, we're right there. So you're after Leo.
Yep.
Sag.
Virgo.
So I'm like Virgo.
Yep.
I'm right on the cusp.
Okay.
That's why I am how I am.
Okay, so first and foremost, I just want to let the people know, or you can let the people know what you got going on, because I know tomorrow's a big day.
Yeah. Well, we got my birthday bash. It's at the Palms. We do every first Thursday with the Island Vibes. We got special guests K Nova and Finn coming from Cali. It's going to be a big birthday because me and Westhoff do it every first Thursday anyway. Fitt's been over there. It's a good time. It's the only, place in Vegas that plays island reggae and the music that we want to play. Yep. So to have that in Vegas is something big for us, and now we're starting to implement artists to perform there.
Yeah.
And it's just something good for all the family to come through, especially Vegas being a destination city, and it's just a big weekend because we got Maoli at T-Mobile Arena.
That's true.
So, we got a lot of the boys in town, a lot of special guests that'll be there at T-Mobile that might be popping up at the birthday party. I won't say anything but Common Kings, Josh Sophie, and all that.
Okay, come on now.
But, I mean, they're going to come and we're going to celebrate with Maoli at T-Mobile. But doing that, we're getting ready. The Shack Barbershop's about to open. Grand opening August 24th or 24th. Is 24th? Thanks. Good job. But, we're getting ready for that, but I'm excited. It's a business here in Las Vegas that I've been working on to do a barbershop in the front and podcast content studio in the back. Yeah. So it's finally, construction's done. We passed inspections, so we opened our doors. So we're like a soft opening right now. Yeah. We got our barbers in there cutting, Matty cuts, Josh, and Blurski, a lot of the barbers that are in there. But it's something good for our community too, because we're in the South and we're right there in untapped territory where we're on Las Vegas Boulevard, right by South Point. Yeah. That's where all the polys be at. So whether
basically,
wherever you're going, you got all the usos over there. But staying busy and doing a weekly podcast with Can We Talk, adding that to the roster of Western Conference podcasts, still doing festivals and shows with Westafa. Got a lot of holos coming up. So blessed to be in the position I am, and it's just we're just hitting the ground running.
Man, like I said, you've been busy. You got a lot of things going on. Of course, you mentioned the Shack. Yeah, it's something new. And we got our barber, Matty Cuts.
Yeah, now we'll see you guys there all the time.
Well, we'll see. We'll be there anyways.
It was big to get Matty because I've been seeing him on social media, and his social media presence is something that kind of with what we do as far as podcasting and being content creators, was seeing what the content he was creating throughout his channels. So I just reached out to him and I said, look, I'm not telling you to pull you from any barbershops, but we're going to do something special here at the Shack. Yeah. If you would like to come. And he hit me the next day and was like, bro, I'm there. Yeah. So it's kind of dope because I want to kind of grab the heavy hitters in content creating and in barber. I mean, you can't just be a dope content creator and be a shitty barber. You can't be both. So it's kind of got lucky with him because he is both. He's a dope barber and he's a dope content creator. But what we're trying to build there is I have meetings with my barbers. I said, look, if you guys are not really a content creator type barber, this probably ain't the shop for you. Because we have something in the back when you're not busy, we want to, kind of showcase our barbers and come back there, create content and kind of just get your billing out there. I want everybody to be a brand. So that's kind of what sold Matty too. Matty was like, I want to be with you because you're a content creator. I'm going to do it too. So I said, I don't even know if I'm a content creator. I know I just talk shit a lot. Yeah. So I don't know if that's what me and content creator is. But it's going to be dope, man. It's going to be dope for the community for what we're doing. And, it makes my parents proud. And that's something that I always kind of say, if they proud, then I'm doing something right.
Yeah. And that's great, too. And when we think about, content creators or just, polys in general, I know we got the musicians, we got people out there, we got you, being a vibe creator out there. But just seeing, Vegas, the Ninth Island, and just seeing so many different creators like you. I mean, we got to get together at the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah. That was fun.
And it was crazy that, we were the only polys there.
And probably still the only polys.
Well, last year, I just went to New Orleans last year, and I got to see somebody else. I forgot their names, but they were over there as well. And I was like, dang, we don't really get to see a lot of people in our space, but we get to see a lot of the players and stuff over there. But, of course, I know you blend that line between both. So that's great that you're doing that over there at the Shack. I wanted to ask about that. Like, what was the whole, like, I guess, inspiration behind that, or even opening something up like that?
Because I'm always has the entrepreneur mind. I'm always like building brands and, you know, doing Western Conference, and I always was going to studios and kind of, you know, being on their time. Nothing against anybody here, studio owners, but well, I was on their clock.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, when I want to shoot, I have to kind of be on their clock.
Yeah.
So I was like, it'd be dope to kind of have my own studio to kind of just make my own time and use it whenever I wanted to do. So my friend Josh, who was actually a barber at the time, he was looking for a barbershop. And he was like saying, man, I'm trying to find a barbershop. And I said, look, why don't we find a space? You do the barbershop in the front and I'll do my podcasting in the back. So it was kind of just an idea and a conversation. And then Honors opened up right there in the Vegas Point Plaza.
Yep.
And my cousin Lucky used to do his church out of that plaza. So I was like, dude, it's a dope plaza that's untapped. You got a lot of open businesses. So Honors being there, I kind of seen what Raleigh and the team did with over there. And I said, what's next door? I said, we could be next door to you. We could kind of make this a community. So I kind of inquired about it. And, you know, the thing about us polys, we kind of like, oh, we'll never be able to do that unless you open your mouth. Yeah. So I opened my mouth and was like, hey, how do we inquire about getting this space? We did it. And, you know, on a whim, I got my brother and my team involved. And, you know, it wasn't easy by any means. And, you know, with the build out, because it was a travel agency before. And like my early videos, which you guys will see in the transition from my content, it was like you couldn't see it, but now that I see it now, it's like you had never known that was a travel agency before it was. So kind of building that was like stressful, going through the, you know, the construction and putting this wall here. And so it all finally, God forbid, it came together. And when it did come together, we're opening up August 24th, and it's dope because it's like it kind of came full circle where now Josh gets his barbershop and I get my content studio. And now we kind of mesh the two worlds where everyone always needs a barber. But the barbers, like before I was doing podcasting here in the Bay Area, I would shoot my podcast at a barbershop. Shout out Feel Good Cuts. So we'd go to the barbershop, Jay Boog would sit in the barber chair and I would sit in the other one, and we would get cut and talk to each other and interview like that.
Like the shop.
So it kind of came full circle where it was like the shack was something where it's like art, it's cuts and culture, where you get your hair cut, but you also get culture because I got a lot of stuff in the back. We're actually going to work. I think you guys will be the first to hear. I'm working on a Fiji mural. So we're going to do a shout out my boy Kola. We're doing like a Fiji mural in the back. And it's just something where kids can kind of come in and be like, oh, you guys own this place? Or you guys run this? So it's entrepreneurship where my kids can say, damn, my dad owns a shop.
Yeah.
Or it's just dope for just, we never had that growing up, you know, in my neighborhood. No one really knew something. So kind of do something that's stepping out on a whim and kind of like making, I always want to make the parents proud. So when I make them proud, and like my dad, of course, was like, it ain't gonna happen. Thanks, Dad. But my mom was always my biggest fan. She was like, well, you know, you're gonna run through all these obstacles, which we did, but you know, God's good. So we actually are into that process where it's still gonna be an up and down process for us. But as long as we have the space, it's always gonna be an open invitation where you guys can come to get cut. And you know, we have all this content space in the back. If you guys on the south do it over here, on the north we can do it over here. So it's all community based where we're all transplants from Cali anyway. So we come here to Vegas. This is kind of like our stamp on being in Vegas. So okay, Cisco has his own shop in there, so it's kind of dope to have that aspect of it.
I want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to one of the sponsors of the podcast, C-Connect. Now, C-Connect is a new ticket exchange app coming soon to Google Play and the App Store. This is basically a social marketplace powered by the fans for the fans. Think of the Facebook group selling and buying tickets, but with a more secure transaction, which was one of the biggest worries and flaws for fans in the first place, because we all know that no one likes to get scammed. Another great thing about C-Connect is not only the ability to buy, sell, and connect with others, but the ability to swap tickets with other fans. So if you're looking to be one of the first to access this app when it does drop, then make sure to join the interest list at cconnect.com. Now, we have and will continue to do a lot of great giveaways in the future with C-Connect. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to go and follow them at C-Connect on all social media platforms.
I know you're busy on the side anyways and still trying to run that. How do you balance all of that? Like,
I don't.
I was gonna say, because I do my own content and it's hard for me to balance all the like family stuff than doing the business stuff.
Oh,
like,
trust me,
you're doing way more, like 10 times.
Man,
you know?
if you've seen my mornings, you guys would be like, oh yeah, that's because I'll sit on my couch and be like, how I'm gonna do all this. Like I literally have to do a to-do list of what I have to do for the day. And you know, you just gotta have faith. Sometimes I don't have faith, and there's some days I do. But it's kind of like if I don't do it, someone else is gonna do it, and then I'm gonna feel bad that someone else did it instead of me. And that might be an ego thing on my end, but it's more or less if I'm gonna say I'm gonna do something, I want to carry it out and not just say, oh, I'm gonna do this shop, and then it never come about. Because we've had conversations in our demographic to say, oh, I'm gonna do this, this, and that, and it never pans out. So to me, it was kind of more of a thing like, no, I'm gonna show these people that I'm gonna say I was gonna do a content studio, I said I was gonna do a barbershop, I'm gonna do it. So juggling that along with, doing the shows and the festivals and everything else that goes on, I'm blessed. I asked for this.
Yeah.
So like I wanted all this opportunity.
Yeah.
So but I told myself, was I going to be able to handle all of it? There's days where I don't. But there's days where I have to accept myself like, you wanted this.
Yeah.
So now that I have it and now that's it at my table, I got to maintain it. My morning phone calls to my mom and my son and my kids, that kind of makes everything set the tone for my day. I do my morning message because that gets me through the day on Instagram. So when I resonate with the crowd, they're like, oh, that morning message got me through. I was like, it wasn't for y'all. It was for me. It was for me. Yeah. So, and then talking to my son does my morning prayer every morning. Okay. And then my mom gets on the phone and she goes, okay, what do we have today? And she kind of like sets the tone with that too. So it's just, that's how I balance and juggle everything like that. Yeah. So it's definitely something that's not easy. Yeah. It ain't for the faint at heart, but it's definitely maintainable.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the price that it comes with when you're trying to go after your dream. Because I always hear like, you can work a 9 to 5, but if you're working on your dream, it's 24/7.
It's 24/7.
And it's crazy though.
Even when you work a 9 to 5, I always say, I said it before, make your 9 to 5 work for your 5 to 9. Like you want to, I can't tell nobody don't have a job because in this world we're living in right now, you got to have a job. So, but I don't want to make it seem where it's not cool to have a 9 to 5. You need that 9 to 5 always to fund your 5 to 9.
And I guess looking back at your journey, right, coming from the Bay Area, coming to Vegas, and I know you've been out here for how long?
2020, so this is my 5th year.
Yeah, so I guess from the growth from that year coming to, do you think that you've grown a lot more since then, or like you just started to see a lot more avenues out here?
Man, I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I did in Vegas in the Bay Area. I wouldn't be able to do any of that in the Bay.
Too expensive.
Too expensive, just in California in general.
Yeah.
So the opportunities that Vegas gave me was to say, oh, I can do this. I can. And I tell people all the time when I go back to the Bay Area, it's so less stress for me being in Vegas than it is in California. There's so many things holding you back and complacency and, you see the same people all the time. Nothing against people that live in the Bay. I love y'all. But if you don't make yourself uncomfortable, then you're going to be in that same spot over and over. So, my brother, he was a mainstay. I'm never going to leave the Bay. And he just put a down payment on a house out here in Vegas.
Congrats.
So I'm slowly converting and transitioning.
Get everybody out
over. And, my mom and daddy live in Utah. And I said, Mom and Dad, look, now that I have this business, I'm going to buy a house with the little next gen. So my parents will come live with me there. Because they're in Utah. They're like, hey, if it starts snowing, I'm coming to Vegas. Where I said, don't come during the summer. It's like the devil's butthole out here. So you don't want to come now. But it's something it always goes back to family. If I'm not going to provide for the family, because my kids all live in the Bay Area too. Okay. So when I have my kids in the Bay Area, I was like, hey, do you guys want to move? So it's crazy because my son, Jalen, all my graphics, like we just have this billboard for my birthday at the Palms. My son does all my graphic design. Okay. So I'm trying to keep it in the family where he was saying, Dad, I like to do graphic design. I was like, okay, cool. Do this flyer, do this merch. So he designs a lot of my merch, a lot of my flyers, and a lot of my Western Conference stuff. Yeah. All the stuff for the Shack. He kind of did everything. So now that we have the space, I'm trying to get him to move out here. He's like, I don't want to leave the Bay. I said, don't get too comfortable in the Bay. So it's just a life lesson for me to kind of say, if I have the means to kind of bring the family, bring my kids over there, why not?
As a Samoan, food is really important to me, as you can see, which is why I want to give a shout out to one of the sponsors of the podcast, Bula Pies Fiji. Straight out of Vallejo, California, Bula Pies brings the taste of the South Pacific right to your neighborhood. Whether you're craving something savory or sweet, they got you covered with their many pies and rolls, perfect for any occasion. And the great thing about them is, even though I live over here in the 9th Island and they're all the way in California, I could still get some meat pies delivered straight to my door frozen. And you just throw that sucker into the oven one time for the one time, and in a couple of minutes, you have some fresh meat pies at the comfort of your own home. So head over to BulaPiesFiji.com to get yours today. And even follow them on Instagram at Bula.Pies.Fiji to keep up to date on where they could pop up next. You never know if they're going to be in your town, whether for a festival or a concert. They're all over the place, so definitely stay tapped in with Bula Pies Fiji and let them know that the Usos sent you.
Speaking of your family, you spoke a little bit about your mom.
Yeah.
We got to see her podcast, and I know she became a star, like instant star after that.
She's still a star. She's like, when's part 2? I said, you didn't want to do it at first. Now where's the part 2? So she's still in the public eye where she's me though. Yeah. And I think that's why when people talk about, I was just talking to Evelyn about it, that her personality is mine.
Yeah.
And she was talking about today. I showed her the billboard, and she's always proud when she sees like. She was like, "Oh, but if it was back in the day, I would drink all you guys under the table." And everyone's in the comments, "Man, I remember you." I was like, "Wait, hold up. What's everybody talking about you? You don't want to know about them days." Yeah. So it's kind of dope because she's proud in a sense, but now she's this podcaster. Oh, so we could do our part 2. And I was like, "Okay, Mom, all right, we'll get it. We'll go with that."
She's probably gonna have her own show. Or
yeah.
Just have her in the back shooting her own show.
She's like, "Do you want me to be the front desk for the barbershop, or you want me?" I said, "Oh, you want to be over there too?" So she definitely wants to be a part of everything. But it is dope because I'm fortunate to still have my mom here.
Exactly.
People don't have their mom, but I have my mom here, and while she's here, I want to kind of make it a fun, transition to whatever she wants. Mom, you want to do this? Let's do it. I want to visit. All right, let's visit. So I was telling her, I'll spend my last dime on my family. Whether it stresses me out later, as long as you get that moment now. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. That's why I tell the people all the time. It's like, dude, it's not like I'm spending my last dime, but it's like we could pass tomorrow and we'll still have all this for what? And then because you passed up on being with your family or flying moms out to have a trip. So I think it's everything on the way you base your family on.
And speaking of your family, like you said, you recently talked about your son doing graphics. So how was it for him, I guess, real quick, like his reaction to seeing like your billboard up on the palms, but it's something that he worked on?
Oh, trust me, it's a tough sell. Because I'm like, he's like, "Oh, Dad, I'm not going to do this again for free."
Oh, he learned from you.
Look,
Hit on my manager's email.
Exactly. I said, I'll get your work on a billboard. And he was like, "All right, well, we'll see." So like the first time he did a flyer for me for the Palms, and it was up. And for him to be there in person, everyone was like, "Oh, you can see it from the freeway." You can see it. And that kind of like put a fire under his ass to kind of say, "Okay, Dad wasn't lying about getting me on billboards." So now, when I say, do the stuff for the barbershop, do the merch and like that, now he's kind of like doing it. I have to send him a Venmo every now and again, but still it's worth the money because it's a lot cheaper than he. Okay,
oh, yeah. Like, we don't have to worry about it.
Cut that one out.
He's like, wait, I could get more.
If you could, people say sometimes it's not a good thing to work with your family. If you do it the right way, there's certain things don't do with your family, trust me. But like when it's your son and you see, I've always told my son, I did everything on my own because I wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give them that mentality because I don't want them to go to their job and be like, "I want to be my own boss. Hey, keep that job real quick." Because I want to be able to show them that you can do it. Yeah. But there is times where you kind of need that, boss. So it's something it's a life lesson for them as well.
Yeah. And speaking of that mural that you're going to have a Fiji, is he going to have a Raider hat on? Or
Absolutely.
Hold on, does this work? Absolutely not.
I think it would be
you
perfect.
guys know me and Fiji's relationship.
Yeah.
It was Raider and you guys.
Yeah.
But the thing, when I put his face on the Raider logo, he hated me for that. But he was telling me, he goes, "You're the only person that can do it because you're true to your team and we're true to our team." Exactly. And I said, that's why the banter between Fitz and Samoan Raider and Fiji always went genuine and authentic because we knew what we were talking about. Yeah. We weren't just some bandwagon fans that were just hopping on to do it. But during the season, you guys seen the thing between me and Fiji, and Fitz was like, "You ain't shit for that." Because we would go to the jugular. And then, of course, when we lose, you guys do the same thing to us. We're like, "Okay, let me go mute. Let me go mute Mr. Fitz for me."
After the Super Bowl, let me turn off my phone.
Super Bowl, we back in family. But it's football season. I think that's the one that's exciting for us where, I'm seeing a lot of stuff on your guys' end and our end where, Santa Clara is the home of the Super Bowl this year. Yeah. So it's dope for us to kind of say, man, it's dope that the Super Bowl is going to be where the Niners play, but it's like, to me personally, I don't know if the Niners are going to be there. We do have the easiest schedule, but it's all going to be how this season pans out, and it's all going to be starting now. Like I'm seeing the signings and I'm seeing the injuries in camp, so it's always going to be what week one holds. Yeah. I know it's going to be a nice preseason game next week between the Niners and the Raiders, but that's just because that's always been the rivalry. Yeah. So just to have the Niners playing at Allegiant Stadium, that's just something dope to be at. Yeah. So you have all these people that's coming from San Francisco and the Bay Area. It's a preseason game. We're treating it like a regular season game because we just want to be in Vegas.
And some people treat it as a Super Bowl game, depending on who you ask.
So this is the Super Bowl for the Raiders, guys. We'll see next week.
The Super Bowl before the Super Bowl. I don't know how crazy with that. I always dreamed about, even though I don't like the Niners, just because rivalry. But I always thought about, man, how crazy would it be for a Raiders-Niners Super Bowl?
That'd be insane.
But the only time that I feel there's a window. I looked at the Raiders team, I looked at our team. There's a 3 to 4 year window now that there's a possibility of it. I mean, the sun's gonna have to shine on a dog's ass pretty soon, but there's a slight window that can happen because I think the Raiders are doing what they're doing with Pete Carroll and how they're as much as I hate to say it, they're putting the pieces where they need. Like Brock Bowers last year was kind of something. Ooh, they get somebody to surround Brock Bowers is gonna be. And me and Fitz talk about all the time. If they get the certain pieces around it, like you can do. I mean, with Antonio Pierce, it was kind of. I feel like he was the fall guy for everything because they were kind of like transitioning to now. I feel like it's Tom Brady's team. I feel like it's Tom Brady's team to build, and I think with his lineage and him being from the Bay and him doing the Patriots thing, I think the Raiders are on the up than they are on the down. Yeah. And normally, don't quote me on that. Don't keep playing that over and over.
We'll just clip that part out. It's like, hey, Cisco's starting to turn. Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about that because I did want to talk about just the Raider Niner thing because of course we're on opposite sides. And next week is the big game. You say you're not going to go to the game, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I won't be going to the game, but I would be going to the game. But like I said, we have to take it for what it is. Yeah. But like I said, when I'm there, I don't care if the fifth string's in there. They better do something.
Yeah.
Because it always boils down to where it's bragging rights at the end of the day. Yeah. Especially if it's preseason and especially if it's a Niner Raider game.
Yeah.
Whoever wins that game throughout the whole season, but we beat you in preseason, well, that doesn't even mean nothing.
It's a win and loss. Yeah. Like whoever wins, like we could brag, and then whoever loses is like, oh, you bragging about a preseason
exactly.
game?
So it's a lose-lose situation for both of us. But at the end of the day, it's just to have that nostalgia of having Raiders versus Niners.
So how do you feel about your Niners this year?
You know what? And I won't say this because I'm biased because I'm a Niner fan. I think the credit that people are giving the Niners now, I think they're going to be surprised, not because of the strength of schedule. I think the moves like losing Hufanga to Denver, Greenlaw to Denver.
That's true.
As much as I love Hufanga and them, we had people to replace them. You know what I mean? Like we had the Mustafas and we had the people that kind of step in for them at a cheaper price. So now we have this cap room. So they know what they're doing. There's a method to the madness. But when you look at comments of like, oh, the Niners are going to rebuild and all this stuff, and the big contract with Brock Purdy, is that going to hurt or help them? Yeah. And I think that's yet to be seen with Brock. But I think people don't know we got McCaffrey back. We got some different pieces. We got some. Michael Williams in the draft. Like I felt that was a steal. Yeah. The steal of the whole offseason, I think, was the DeMarcus Robinson signing from the Rams. He was balling with the Rams at the end of the season. How we got him is besides me. But I think we got him for like a 12-pack of Gatorade and some Newports. Like we got him for nothing.
That's true.
But I think with those moving pieces, it always looks good on paper. But I think until the season starts and you see when the injuries start happening, so it's going to go from there. People are picking us to kind of like at least win the West. Yeah. I'm just happy to see what our first 6 games are, and that's going to be what we kind of dictate the rest of the season on.
How do you keep up with it during like your busy schedule?
I'm always on Instagram looking at like all 49er pages, like our SF 49ers. Like there's a lot of guys I follow that are insiders for our team. And like today I was looking at the depth chart and I was like, where's our wide receiver core? But just looking at the depth chart now, like you can't put the depth chart today through week 1's depth chart. Yeah. So I'm trying not to like let that alter my way of thinking of it, because I do think if Ricky Pearsall's healthy, if Juwan Jennings is going to be the guy, those are pieces that we're going to need during the season, but like they're hurt. Oh, Kyle Juszczyk's sitting out. I was like, well, that's the only fullback we have. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and then they had Greg Joseph as a kicker, but he made more field goals than Jake Moody, but you're keeping Jake Moody. So, and I'm like, so they just released Greg Joseph, and I'm like, I thought we were going to get him. And I don't know what blackmail that Jake Moody has on John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan.
Something over him.
He has something on him, or we're keeping him because I still don't trust him. I don't trust his shadow. But at the end of the day, we just kind of, as fans, we're die hard about it, but at the end of the day, they're the moving pieces. We kind of have to dictate our fandom off of what they're doing. Yeah. Whether they're shitty, whether they're winning, we're gonna ride or die till we go to the end of it. Yeah. So that's what it falls into us, because I learned I can't keep. Week 1, we win. We're going to the Super Bowl. That's always the mentality. We win a preseason game, Super Bowl's in Santa Clara. Yeah. So it's just kind of, I gotta tone down, me being such a diehard fan. And you guys know the same way with you and your Raiders, where your hopes get up so high, and then as soon as you see the dominoes fall, like he's hurt. Like, okay, let's get him next year.
Let's get the number 1 pick, guys.
Week 9. So.
Number 1 pick, baby. Let's go.
Not this year, guys.
Let's just get the number 1 pick. So at the end of the day, it's like we don't dictate and control anything on the field. That's why everyone's like, why are you such a diehard? I was like, someone made me realize that the other day, because I was fighting with somebody tooth and nail. I was like, man, he was like, oh, so you're the GM? I was like, okay, you got me on that one. So it's just the way we control our fandom.
Yeah. And I remember the last time we had you over here, we had a different quarterback. We had Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. Horrible.
He didn't work out for us.
Man, now he's with the Rams, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's back with Devontae now.
It's just like I think with Pete Carroll coming over, I think that's going to have a new, a whole new outlook for the Raiders, especially bringing Geno over. That's okay. I see what he's doing. I thought he was going to bring Marshawn out of retirement, but I think his culture of winning in Seattle, it could resonate with the Raiders if he does it right. I just think there's a lot of stuff that goes against it because you guys are in Vegas. I always said since they moved to Vegas, these guys are going to be partying all the time. We've seen that with Ruggs and all other stuff that I was like, damn. Josh Jacobs DUI. I'm like, get out of Vegas. So, but now that they're here, I think now they're settling into being Las Vegas, and now they can kind of get back to saying, put these, getting Tom Brady involved is now you're getting the puzzle pieces together. Yeah. Now you have that part of you brought Pete Carroll in. So as a Niner fan, you don't want to see that starting to pan out. But like Ashton Genty, I was like, ooh, because I was a fan of his just when he was playing football in college. But now you see it where you guys have a bruiser back that can do what the things they need to do. But it's all like hype right now until we see what they do week one.
Yeah. I wanted to transition into the next topic, but before I do, and kind of veering off of the Raider stuff, like, how was your relationship with Fiji the Raider fan? Because I know there's Fiji the performer and Fiji the Raider fan.
I hated Fiji the Raider fan. I love Fiji the artist. I love Fiji the brother. Fiji the Raider fan, in a dark alley, I would have whooped his ass. But that's just because he was so diehard about it. You guys seen it too. When he had the Raider thing on his shield. So. But that just goes to the authenticity of what he was. He never steered away. As much shit talking that we did, he was always going to stick to his gun. Whether you guys lost 8 in a row, I don't care. We're still better than you guys. And you weren't. But I said, you're going to lie to me? I'm right here. So just knowing that how he felt about the Raiders and how he knew I felt about the Niners, that was always our give and take. And I think that was something that we could carry. So, you've seen the industry took it hard about, losing an icon in the music thing. He was a music legend first, and then we became brothers. So when we become brothers, then you become, football fans and watching football, betting on football. I was with him in many a sports book, doing any bet he said, oh, these guys are going to win. Cool, bet all that. And they lost. What happened? He's like, I don't have money for the next one. So just that relationship with me and him was like, it was like a brother, relationship. So, every time you guys see this, people don't get like, Cisco, why you talk the way you talk to Fiji? Because that's my brother. And people don't get that, but now that he's gone, like you see the old clips from the podcast and the way he only wanted to do my podcast because he knew we'd have the authenticity that we had during those conversations, and I could talk to him the way we did, and he could talk the way he did, and he wore his whole emotions on his sleeve. Yeah. And when he cried on my podcast twice, I said, I know you ain't gonna cry again on this. So we were playing about that, but you look at it now when I watch that, I'm like, man, he felt comfortable in his skin enough to kind of sit there and both podcasts. He was crying on both, and I was like, damn, that was just something because you don't realize greatness until it's gone. Exactly. And you don't realize it until because you take it for granted when you're around him because I'm just gonna see him. I'm gonna see him.
Exactly.
And the week before he passed, I had talked to him, and I felt I was gonna see him again, and I didn't. And I felt bad but I felt good about like every time we got off the phone, I said, I love you, I love you too. And then you didn't never know that was gonna be the last time you talked to him. And we were talking about his homecoming celebration in Fiji. He's like, I need you out there. I was like, cool, bro, don't say nothing but a word. I was going to get done. Yeah. And then he passed the next week. So it was harder for us. Like, everyone's grieving with it a certain way. Like, Boog, he's on tour with Damian and Stephen Marley. Like, me and him talked, and he's taking it bad. Glenn from Oli. We have to look for our brands and for what we represent as far as artists. We have to, not be the crybaby either, but we also hitting the stage. I think I posted a clip today on Instagram where you've seen all of our different reactions and talking about him and us cracking and, Boog crying and myself crying, Glenn doing his tribute. So now that his funeral is about to happen on the 12th in Suva, it's unfortunate because it was supposed to be later, like on the 21st of August, on my birthday. Yeah. Thanks, Feach. It was supposed to be on that day, but they had changed it sooner for whatever reason, and now we're not able to make the actual homecoming. A lot of our friends and family are going, but for obligations that were contractually we couldn't do. And Feach was supposed to be here this weekend. Feach was supposed to be Maoli's guest coming out to the T-Mobile because it was such a big deal for Maoli. Yeah. And just kind of seeing where it's at now, where not that we're choosing to either be here or be at Fiji's funeral. It's kind of like Fiji was like, guys, go do your show. That's what we feel, especially with special guests. Like, I'm not supposed to tell anybody. When Common Kings were like, yo, we're going to go. When Common Kings are coming, they're like, bro, this is something that he would want us to do. Yeah. Josh Tatofi, he was like, bro, this is something new. Glenn. So talking to them about it and kind of seeing that whole thing, everyone's mourning in a different way. Yeah. When you're back at home in Fiji, you don't really have too much say on what's going on with the funeral. Oh, you kind of just let everybody the family do what they got to do, and just we're going to celebrate them from here on out anyway. Yeah. So it's just a different way on how we do it and when we do it.
And that's cool because like my whole thing, like the first time I never got to know Fiji on this. I was like outside looking in kind of thing. But like, in high school, I think the first song that I actually like recognized them was Hey Girl with CLC. I was still in high school, but I didn't know I heard so many songs that I didn't know it was his at the time. And then, growing up.
Oh, it's crazy. When you hear Hey Girl, he's singing in Tongan.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? And then that's Sosafina, he's singing in Samoan. Exactly. So like, you see so many different facets of Fiji where he was singing these songs like he was Samoan, like he was Tongan. So, and it just goes back to how his whole career, he was that guy.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it offline before, like he hated to be called legend. He always wanted to help the next artist. Like, you know, he jump-started J Boog's career.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
kind of seeing that, like he had a hand in Maoli's career, Sammy J, all your Fia. He brought all these people up with him. And I think that's what you're not going to see. And nothing against the artists today, but you're not going to get that same, you know, compassion that Fiji had for other artists in the artists of today, only because we're living in a different world.
Yeah.
And I think Fiji was cut from a different cloth, where he was raised on, like, he wanted to help people more than rip them off or do anything else. But I mean, he's definitely going to be missed, and you're going to see a big void about Fiji in this industry that no one's going to try to fill it anyway. But I think if you kind of just take what he was doing and put it into what you're doing, I think everyone will be okay.
No, I've heard a lot of people talk about it too. He was like kind of like our Tupac or whatever people say, and it's true though.
Absolutely.
It didn't really hit until like he passed. Your post was the first one. I was chilling watching a movie with my wife and family and stuff like that, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then she was like, what? I said, Fiji passed. She was like, no. I was like, even though I didn't know Fiji, but you could tell like,
sad
Same
day.
thing.
Yeah.
Like when Michael Jackson died, when somebody that felt like, I cried when Tupac died, and it's because I was raised on Tupac. Like, you don't know these people, but you have your inner relationship with them. Like, you feel like you grew up with them. With Fiji, it was different. Like, I called my mom and she thought it was a TikTok video. She was like, I'm not doing this. Oh, Fiji died, and get the reaction. Like, nah, he really died. It was something like for us to kind of say, you don't realize until they're gone where Fiji was like our Bob Marley.
Bro,
Fiji was like that's how much of a figure he was in our demographic. For the island reggae, for the Polynesians, for the Micronesians, Melanesians. Like, I want to make sure I get it right, because people say, oh, you left out. I don't want to leave nobody out, because our islands, we always turn to Fiji as our king. Like, he was island reggae.
Yeah.
There was no island reggae without Fiji, but he was so talented in so many different facets. He could do an R&B song. He can do the reggae songs. He could start doing. I'm like, and his levels of singing, like he had a dolphin octave that no singer could hit to this day. I'm talking about like the best of him. He did it one time. We were in a karaoke room. He did. I looked around. I was like, it's just me and you in here. You know. He was like, shut up. I was like, well, I'm just saying, you didn't have to do that. But that was pretty good. So he was just a talent. You know what I mean? When you lose a talent of that, you know, size and capacity of what he brought to the game, it's tough.
Yeah, and you speak on him being so selfless too. Like, one thing I guess that came to mind for me was I was at the Atalanto thing. The first time they had Major Vibes, right?
Yes.
I think he had his niece come out, or like just kind of shouted her out, kind of gave her like a little rub, and I'm like, dang. Like, even though not a lot of people know about her, he was still out there and giving her some time.
It's
you know?
crazy, man, because when Fiji has his time, he knows that the promoter or nobody can kind of dictate what he does with his set.
Yeah.
There was a time in Long Beach where he was doing a show, I think Junior King of Comic Kings just put it out, where he called Junior King up to do a song because he knew he was talented.
I've seen that.
And he did that with Boog, he did that with Siosi, he did that with all these people. So any people that he felt was going to be the next one to get, they would be his background vocals. Spawn Breezy, Kivini Vice, everybody was his background. Like Fia did his own thing too. So that was kind of like you worked your way up the ladder. Like you was BVing for Fiji, now you got your solo career, group career, whatever you was doing. He had a hand in always doing, like he did songs with people that, I'm like, why'd you do a song with them? He's like, watch, they're going to blow up. And then they came out, I was like, oh, it's that person. And then came out. So like, even when Sammy J first came out, I was like, who's this? And I was like, damn, Sammy's kind of dope.
Yeah.
And then I heard it with Fiji. I was like, dang, he's dope. Fiji had a hand in doing it. And a lot of people don't know, he did a lot of these songs out of love. He didn't do it for the money. But he did it like, he just wanted to do it because he knew that was going to be the next person to do it. So people don't know that part or that side of it. But I think if you really knew the person he was willing to give up whatever he had to give up to make sure the next person was next up in line.
Yeah, he always was that. And I remember him with Judizi and him with
But especially with Judizi, like to bridge the gap between hip hop and island reggae. Like I'm in the Bay Area with Drew, so like when I seen Drew, I was like, "There's no way Drew can transition over to island reggae." But Fiji was the bridging of the gap.
Basically did, yeah.
So when they did Polytape, I'm like, because I know Drew, I've been with Drew, like street Drew. And then when I had seen that, and I was like, seen Fiji in the studio, I was literally at the studio when they was doing Polytape with Big Seth. Shout out Cam and everybody, and I'm like, this dude, without Fiji, this doesn't work. And this is like when we started doing festivals. We did Island Reggae Festival at Great America in Santa Clara. Like, this was the first time this is before the whole Olos, before all these other festivals. And he bridged the gap between the street and island reggae. Once that polytape came out, it was like cool to be street and be island reggae. So it was like, you don't know, like that polytape was like a defining moment for our culture, because you segued the street into it. Because there was no way in hell you were gonna be able to listen to Drew Deasy without having a Fiji on there. Come Back to Me, one of the classics. First of all, when they did the beat, and I was like, hell no. I know that it's a 5-star beat. But shout out Us Nation, shout out everybody that kind of did that, where it was about the culture.
Yeah.
Back then, it was about you were the street. There was really no culture. In California, I'll say, we wasn't really like representing the culture. We was representing your hood or your last name, whatever it was. And Fiji was the bridging of the gaps. Yeah. And I think it was so dope, because I went on the polytape tour with them, with Drew and everybody, and I'm like, they would never be able to pull this off without Fiji. Yeah. But Fiji was the one that vouched for Drew and was like, hey, you guys are a fan of mine, be a fan of Drew Deasy's now. Yeah. So now he kind of like, I didn't want to like Drew, but Fiji said he was cool, so he's kind of cool now, you know what I mean? So he made it okay for us to like street hip-hop, you know what I mean? And then he was over there doing hip-hop hooks. I'm like, look at Fiji and KPT over here in Rice doing. I was like, nah. So it was dope because only Fiji could have did it. Yeah. Nobody else, no other artist, no other body in this world could have bridged that gap. But because Fiji did what he did, you have the polytape, and you have the polytape 2. Now Polytape 3 is about, people don't know, but the Polytape 3 they was working on, that was something that was part of a trilogy. You had Polytape 1, you had Polytape 2, and it was always getting better. Yeah. But Fiji was always the one pushing the hard line. Yeah. Okay, cool, we got to do this now. We got to put these artists on here because we already had these on the first one. Now he's looking for other artists to bring them on the Polytape. I'm like, how dope is that? He was like the Quincy Jones, and he was over there quarterbacking this whole thing. And it's crazy because Drew and them have Polytape 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a Polytape 4 sitting in the vault. But it's just to have that, like, that's part of our culture. Yeah. Like, Polytape 1, look, as street kids from Cali, you wanted to hate it so bad. But it was so good, and you was like, I'm down with that.
I was one of them young kids that was like, oh, man, like, I have for the heavy.
Go Get It was hard, bro.
Go Get It was hard.
That was my favorite one off that one.
All them songs, and you just seen the talent with, like, Nietzsche and with Cam and with Nitty. Yeah. You're like, hold up. And then you had Fiji on the hook. And then I was like, hold up, without Fiji, it doesn't happen.
I have a funny story because I know when Come Back to Me first came out and I heard it. I didn't really know. I wasn't really familiar with the All-Star. Yeah. At first, I was still young. I was bumping it in the car, and then my dad was like, oh, that's my song, turn it up.
Same thing.
And then right when it stopped, he was like, what is this?
We almost got beat up. So Dad almost beat us up. We had played it. Getting to like this is my one right. And then Drew came in. He said, "Hey, what? I got to So it was just kind of like because he brought the old school culture of like a 5-star thing. Us Nation did his thing on the beat. Fiji's on the hook. Because once you hear Fiji, you're like, this the one. And then Drew comes, like, where'd Drew come from? But it matched. Yeah. As oddly as it sounded, it matched. So that's how dope it was. Like, that's just one story. Like the Polytech, like looking at Fiji's career from start to the end, there's so many different stories that people can share that people will never know. Yeah. Like we could do a whole show just on stories of Fiji, on what he meant to the game. Like people don't talk about all these different things that he wrote songs. Like we showed on a podcast for Tyrese, and he wrote a song for Kimani Marley, and and Peter Morgan. He's gone now, but a lot of stuff. You have all these legends. We're starting to lose them. Yeah. We're starting to lose these legends. Like we lost Peter Morgan. We lost Fiji now. So it's real scarce of the genuine and authenticity of artists nowadays. Yeah. There's a lot of dope artists still out there, but if they don't kind of grasp what Fiji was trying to instill in these artists, we're going to lose that art. Yeah. And I feel like it's unfortunate because now that he is gone, I already see the loss of that camaraderie. Yeah. You know what I mean? We kind of see the loss of, we wouldn't do it, but if Fiji was here, they would have did it. Yeah. Because he would have been like, nah, do it with him and do it with him. Now you don't have that mediator. So it kind of, I'm going to be weird to see how it all pans out. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if they could take just a little bit of what Fiji was and implement that into today's music, it'll be dope.
I want to get at least to the story where you met him for the first time. But before, I know Louis got a fun story of meeting him for the first time and almost getting him on our podcast.
So, no, that's a funny story about that. We were gambling one time because he was always in Vegas. And I said, hey, why don't you go do some more? They do the Raider. He was like, oh, it'd be a better podcast than you. I was like, what? First of all. But because I said it would work because of the Raider connection. So that was like always dope because I always told him, I'm going to go do some more in Raider and Fitz's thing. So he was always fans of people, what they wanted to do. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know they had a Raider. Oh, okay, now that I know, I'm going to do theirs instead of yours. Shut up. So, but that was like my dope story for him. because Fiji always had a story.
Yeah.
Whenever you had an interaction with him, it was a story.
Yeah, so the first time I ever met him was Flex, my cousin.
Yeah.
So I'm chilling at home, just relaxing. Flex calls me. He's like, "Hey, what you doing right now?" I said, "No, I'm just chilling at home." He's like, "How far are you from this address?" So I look at the address. I'm like, "Oh, like 10 minutes." He's like, "Hey, Fiji wants to meet you." I was like, "You're lying, bro. You're lying." So I jump up, I go over there, and as soon as I walk through the door, I'll never forget, he's like, Jehovah's Witness. It's because of the Jehovah's Witness video I did. And he told me a story how, they used to come around and knock his neighborhood back in Fiji, and, that my video was hilarious. But I'll never forget that, because that night I kicked it with him, we barbecued. He actually sang, karaoke at the house, and it was just an experience I'll never forget.
Yeah, and people know, like, nowadays, when you kicked it with Fiji, he kicked it like he was your uncle or your cousin. Yeah. He sang with you, he cooked with you. Like, I remember a lot of times we was at the studio at 454 and with Drew Deasy and them, he was cooking like ribeyes. "Oh, sis, you got to come try this." I'm like, "Don't we all got gout?" I'm like, "I should be eating this." He was like, it's okay, we'll take a pill. But like, he was kicking it like he was like your uncle or like a family member. So like, it's funny. I was talking about the first time I met Fiji was in a karaoke room in Hawaii. It's called Do Re Mi. It was him and Al. I don't know if you guys remember Al Noga. He played for the Minnesota Vikings. He was like big old Tongan D lineman. And he was in there, we were all drinking moonshine. And my brother at the time, Ant, he came in. Al Noga had hurt Joe Montana, like sacked him, and he was out for the season. My brother comes in and was like, "Fuck you, Al." Fiji goes, "Who's this?" And goes, "Oh, that's my brother, guys. Don't mind it. You hurt Joe Montana." And then Fiji goes, "You damn Niner fans. Al Noga don't know what's going on." He's like, "Hey, who is this guy?" I was like, "Oh, that's my brother. Leave him alone." He was like, "You hurt Joe Montana, Al." I'm like, "Oh," to this day. That's been hilarious. My story because we're sitting there ordering moonshine. I don't know why I was drinking moonshine, but that was like the drink to drink. And it was just because Fiji was like, we're sitting there with Al Noga, who was like all pro D tackle for the Vikings. And we're talking about music and life and everything, and we're drinking moonshine. So it was just like, that was my first instant where I was like, damn, is that Fiji like the artist? Because they were like, yeah, just go over there. Fiji's in there with Al Noga. I'm like, wait. Fiji and Al Noga are in there? So, and when I walked in there, it was kind of like, it was crazy to see that interaction. But I ended up being a fan, turning into a brother. And that's why it was like, people don't know, like, we were talking about, I call him a legend. And he's like, "Stop calling me that." Like, he was always like a humble, like, "Stop calling, I don't want you to call me that." And he was adamant about me not doing it. But I said, "No, you need to have your flowers before you're gone." And, people will look at it now. We kind of knew it was coming because he was getting sicker and sicker, but we didn't know it happened like that fast. I didn't. Yeah. So when it did happen, it kind of hit us all by that. Yeah. And to this day, it still it hurts to this day.
Speaking of Fiji, I wanted to ask you, I guess put you on the spot.
Yeah.
If you were to put your top 5 Fiji songs, what would it be?
Oh, Lordy.
I know.
There's songs because I have unreleased ones too.
Or the ones that us peasants got to. The ones that we know.
What's funny is like Sosafina will always be number one for me.
Oh, yeah.
Only because like even as a kid that didn't even speak Samoan, but Sosafina was like my language barrier for Samoan. But to see him sing it, because we had something to do. A lot of my cousins were in the studio with him, trying to teach him how to mouth the words and everything. But Sosafina is number one. Recently, Lonely Days has always been my one. Him and Bug killed that one.
Yep.
And you think Joanna was one of them, but he also had like Hey Girl was one because whenever I didn't know how to speak Tongan, I would like recite the Hey Girl. Who am I? Oh, there it is. But
the only Tongan I knew.
Exactly. But Special Girl is like ones that people don't really trip on, but Special Girl is a big one. But that's my 5. But the one that I really always bumped was I'm Sorry, which is like an unreleased track that he did over the Keisha Cole. The Keisha Cole Love.
Oh, yeah.
So when he did that, it was kind of like, ooh, he was so multi-talented and multifaceted where he could do any of that. But he did a song also with AZ, In the Morning. And it was a song that AZ was from San Francisco. He was from Hawaii. And there was a record label that we started in Hawaii. It was called Usos Records. And that was like the number 1 single, and it was playing everywhere. So look up In the Morning. It's AZO featuring Fiji, and that's another one of my favorites.
Okay. I want to get to... You don't have to answer this. I just want to ask if you do want to answer it. I think it'd be cool. If you were to put your Mount Rushmore of all-time poly artists.
Oof. Fiji is there for sure.
Yeah.
Poly artists is Fiji. See, I'm biased because I'm in the industry now, but Fiji will always be one for me. And I always put people up there that I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to Fiji, but I think Boog has to be up there because of the transition between what Fiji did and what Boog did. I put Boog up there. Mm-hmm. The other 2, my Uncle Cisco. And I say this because when I was raised, my Uncle Cisco was a singer, and my dad would always play him. And the reason I put that on my Mount Rushmore, like, oh, who's that? Yeah, you don't know who it is. But it was my uncle because I was named after him. His name was Cisco. And I was named after him. It was my dad's brother, and he sang at, at these bars in Hawaii and Samoa. So he would be up there. And my fourth one, I think the fourth one's yet to be seen. Yeah. But I feel like I don't want to put anyone that's out there right now up to that pedestal because I feel like they still got more work to do. Yeah. So I think I would leave that one open for the next person that's going to take that spot. But Fiji and Boog, and the only reason I say that because Boog's my brother too. Yeah. But the way Boog transitioned into the mainstream, Let's Do It Again was on KMEL, which was a huge hip hop station in the Bay Area. Like, and you hear him on like stations that you would never hear artists on. So that's why my Mount Rushmore for him is up there. And it just goes back to where there'll never be another Fiji. No, that's why he's always going to be on the pinnacle of everybody's list, but you can't compare to say, who's the next Fiji? And I know there's a lot of stuff going on with TikTok stuff, so I'm going to stay out of that. I'm going to stay out of that one. Because at the end of the day, it was just the wrong timing for it. Yeah. But I think there'll never be another Fiji. Yeah. They'll never, only because of, not because of his catalog of music, which is still going to be unmatched. Yes. But it's because of his selflessness. Yeah. And that's the only reason I say there'll never be another Fiji, because of that. Like, there's going to be somebody that's going to have a catalog as big as Fiji as long as they keep working. But the selflessness is what I think is hard in these days to have, and I think no one will ever emulate that. Yeah. There'll never be another Fiji, and that's why I say, why is the question even asked? Yeah. I'm going to leave it at
that. I love it, though, man. And it's crazy because, you're in a space, and you get to see all of these. And most of these guys that you're around is like a lot of people's is, Mount Rushmore. Yeah. And you're there every
We were just talking about it in the car where I was like, how does it feel to be around these artists? Yeah. It's different because if I didn't know you, it'd be like, oh, there goes such and such. But with me, it's like, it's such a brotherly type thing, playful, that they love that. All the artists, if you guys always meet an artist, they love being treated like everybody else. They don't want to be put on a pedestal. So they want to be treated like, so that's why when he's like, oh, do this. And it's crazy because Fiji, he was getting phones put in his face all the time. Can you shout out my aunt? Can you shout out my cousin? And artists today would be like, oh, no, I didn't get that out of my face. Fiji would be like, what's her name? And grab it. Yeah, yeah. I don't care if Fiji was drunk. I don't care if Fiji was tired. He'd grab it and still do it. Yeah. And I don't think you're ever going to see that again. Yeah. Ever again. So that's the only reason I say that's going to separate Fiji as being the icon he is. Music-wise, his catalog will be never matched. Yeah. But the selflessness and the person he was as a moral standpoint, there'll never be another Fiji.
For sure. And I want to go into another Mount Rushmore. Yeah. I always ask all the polys. I didn't ask you last time, but what's your all-time poly football list?
Man, I just seen this on TikTok the other day, and I was like, this is what my list would be. It would be Junior Seau. Okay. It would be Jesse Sapolu. Man, there's a lot to choose from, too. And people don't know, I think it's game changers for me. Like, Haloti Ngata has to be on there for me, only because of what he did and how strong he was. And now he's a friend of mine, He's a bear. Like, I'm like a literal, like a bear, grizzly bear. That's what Haloti Ngata is. And I think Troy Polamalu rounds it out because of what, and he's in the Hall of Fame. I think I was talking to Jesse. Jesse Sapolu should be in the Hall of Fame. I was just watching Antonio Gates and everybody that's kind of inducted in this one. I didn't know that it was, not that a popularity contest. I sat there and talked with Jesse and was like, bro, how do we get you in there? He told me what the elements are. And I said, look, as long as I'm around and I'm a Niner fan, I want to try to do what I can. He was like, let me know. So I'm like, okay, so there's a way of getting our heroes in there. But I think Jesse being the 4-time Super Bowl champion and O-line, he's in there like the Bay Area ones and stuff. But like Hall of Fame, I've seen people with lesser accolades be inducted for lesser. But I think Jesse Sapolu is going to be that guy that I would actually sit there and say, guys, even if you're not a Niner fan, just for Jesse loves everybody. Yeah. He sit and talk with a Raider fan, talk with a Rams fan, and he knows what he's talking about. He could easily sit there with all his rings and be like, so what are you guys doing? Like, he don't do that. Another humble person. That just comes with the demographic and of being Polynesian descent. Yeah. I think Jesse, while I'm here, and because we're doing a lot of stuff for the Super Bowl that's coming up, is we got to get Jesse in the Hall of Fame. Oh, for sure. Because I feel like to have that induction at Canton, Ohio, where, you see all the people that got inducted this year, imagine what the stands would look like if Jesse Sapolu was inducted. Whether you're not a Niner fan, whether you'll be there because of just the person of who Jesse is. Yeah. So we got to get Jesse in the Hall of Fame. NFL, if you're listening, let's get Jesse in there. Check the stats. Sure. Check the stats.
And he's cool because I think we met him during the Super Bowl that one time at the AAPI thing.
He was cool.
Man, he's hella humble but funny too, because
Oh,
he was
yeah.
a Raider fan, so he was clowning on us still. I was like, all right, you know.
And he knows that rivalry all too well.
Yeah.
Like, he knew it when it was Oakland Raiders, and he was like, see, I played it. He goes, they're loyal, to the end. And he goes, and that's something about Niner fans. All his fans will be loyal until they start losing too many games. They're like, okay, let me just take this jersey off and wear the next one. But Jesse knows how to deal because he was doing it. He's talking about Polynesian Football Hall of Fame out there in Hawaii. He had something to do with that, and he's starting to get Rugby Hall of Fame and going on. So Jesse's doing a lot of stuff that you guys don't see behind the scenes, but he's doing it for the kids. He's doing, he has men in the trenches. And so Jesse, you talk about like Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Yeah. Like there's Jesse does a lot for the community that the people don't see. So I could easily see there being a Jesse Sapolu Man of the Year Award as well. So Jesse, we got to get Jesse to the hall.
I know you spoke earlier on Fiji and how he hated to be called legend and stuff like that. When you look at your career, I know it's you got a lot of things going on, so you don't really you probably don't even think about the situation you're in, but I know a lot of people see it from the outside looking in. You paved the way, I guess, for a lot of other people and stuff like that. And I guess you're a legend in your own right, And I don't know if you really get your flowers a lot, but how does it make you feel when, some people could look at you as I'm not saying you're Fiji, but like for your for
line
what you
work.
do. For your line of work, I would put you up there in that aspect of just being a vibe creator. There's going to be other MCs that come behind
absolutely.
you. So I want to ask you, do you not want to hear it, or how does it make you feel when somebody
being with Fiji made me humble myself for that aspect. Yeah. So I let other people say it. If they say it, that's great. I would never sit there and be like, I'm the legend. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think I learned that from Fiji to be like, of course I could be confident in what my skills are. I could be with the best one, but I'm not going to sit there and be the cocky dude and be like, I'm going to be the legend. There'll be another like me because of why I've been around with Fiji. Fiji taught me to say, don't ever call yourself a legend. Let other people do it for you. And you just keep doing the work. So I would never sit here to the next person and be like, oh, you need to listen to me because I know all this. So at the end of the day, if people put me in that category, that I'm humbled to be in that category. But I would never, my mom told me the other day, she goes, you have a long line of work of what you're doing. I said, yeah, but I look at it as, if I don't do it, somebody else would have did it. That's so the only reason I do it the way I do it because I'm having fun doing it. Yeah. I'm creating a legacy for my kids where I'm a cool dad, and now I'm making my mom and dad proud. That's really at the end of the day what I'm doing it for. Yeah. And if that kind of resonates with the public of saying, oh, he's paved the way and he's a pioneer with the MC, cool, that's all for it. We just had a PMN Polynesian Music Network had a cover story on me the other day.
Shout out
and
Polynesian
even
Music.
reading, shout out Queenie and everybody over the Island City Media. But when I read that outside looking, I was like, who is this dude? So when I had read it, and my mom was like, that was a dope article. Because I did the interview, I didn't know they were going to piece it up like that, where I was
I see.
So when they had put it together, I kind of looked at it like, ooh, I did kind of do a lot of stuff. Yeah. But it also humbled me to be like, I could be a guy reading who's this guy? You know what I mean? So and I have to think that way because my dad taught me that to never think you're better than the next person. And my dad instilled that to me because he said there's always somebody better than you. So when I read that article, I was kind of like, it's dope, but there's always going to be somebody that's going to do this. So as long as I keep that attitude, I think I'll continue to be blessed with success because I never want to fail. Yeah. And the reason why I don't want to fail is because I feel I have too much pressure on my shoulders to let my family down. And I mean, it's a gift and a curse because you don't want to let your family down, but there's dark days where I'm sitting in a room by myself like, can I do this? Can I maintain this? And there's days where I got to just remember who the fuck I am. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I got to still be like, oh, no, I got to do this for the family. I got to do it for my kids. And I got to do it for the industry that I'm in where if I leave, who's going to fill that void? When Fiji leaves, who's going to fill that void? You don't want to think about that, but I don't want nobody to write my story. So I figured as long as I'm able to have a pen to write my story, why not write it?
I know it's hard to really look at it because sometimes it be moving for us too, and I try to look at the situations we're in. I'm like, bro, I know for a fact your young self would be hella proud of.
When we were at Super Bowl, I there was a moment where I was looking at me, you, and Fitz were just sitting there, and there was players kind of saying what's up to us. Yeah. They weren't really talking to everybody else. They were kind of just seeing who we were. Hey, what's up? When we were talking about Shiloh and shit. That was a moment for me to be like, damn, look at us 3 Samoans up in here. Yeah. Have no business in here, but we do have business in here.
Exactly, yeah.
So when I looked at it like that, and I was kind of glad you went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans and the WrestleMania stuff that we're doing, no one's going to do that unless we do it. Yep. So that's why to this day, when they say, where's the media at? So that's why I like to see the Polynesian Music Network, Island City, what everybody's doing. Yeah. If we don't support that as a people, why would anybody else support it? So that's why I always, when you say, hey, sis, you want to come do the podcast? Bro, I'll be right there. even though I got a million other things to do, but Simone Raider, I'll do. I said, sign me at 4 o'clock. I'll be over there because I don't want to be that dick to kind of just brush you guys off. Like, nah, I ain't got time for that. Nah, make time for that because I would want somebody to try to make time for me. If I was asking somebody, hey, what you think you can be on the podcast? Oh, no, I ain't got time. Oh, okay, no, all good. Now I'm kind of like, fuck that motherfucker. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they told me yes. I go, oh, that was cool of him to kind of do that. And not that I'm saying that, like, I'm just saying, if you have the opportunity to share your story, why not? You know what I mean? Because you never know. This could be the #1 podcast in the world. And because you were on it, now you're like, oh, I was on that show. Like, you look at all, like, with Cameron and Mace and, Joe Rogan and all these, like, Theo Vaughn, like, they weren't always the best. Mm-hmm. It's because they had the support of their fans. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing. Yeah. It's going to come. And I always say, you don't know which leaf's going to turn and be the most successful. It could be you guys up next. It could be me up next. You never know. But if I'm not here, we could never say we had this conversation.
Yeah.
So until that, I'm going to do every podcast that invites me. I'm going to do every interview that invites me. I'm going to be involved in everything I can because one of them is going to hit.
Yep.
At some point, someday, one of them is going to hit. And just seeing you guys at WrestleMania made me proud to kind of see Roman Reigns. And, hey, what's up? Same as you guys because they resonate with you. Oh, there goes my people right there. Yeah. But if you guys weren't there, it'd be none of us over there to represent us. That's I think we just got to keep doing it for the people that's watching. Like, how do you guys get into this space? Go do it. Yeah. Whatever you guys like doing, whether you're adamant about being a Raider fan, whether you're adamant about being funny, like it's stuff like that. Know what yourself is doing, then do it. If you want to be a graphic designer, my son was like, I didn't even know he was a graphic designer. I was like, oh yeah, do a logo and we'll see how it is. He was like, oh, this kind of tight. Then me as a business, I was like, okay, we got cheap labor here. So,
we got child labor at home.
do like 7 more of these, and then we'll see if they're good.
I'll give you $50.
But I mean, it's dope and blessing to have it keep it in a family. So if I can further his, dream of being a graphic designer, and I can put him up on billboards. Look at your works on a billboard. That's my calling to be here. Like, and I always want to be humble to people because we're all brothers at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Treat everybody how you wanted to be treated. That's why every time when I first met Fitz, I first met you guys like usos. Like, we clicked right away because we knew you guys were Raider fans. You guys knew I was a Niner fan. But that banter between us was like authentic and it wasn't forced. It was like, oh, look at this Niner fan. It was like, what's up, Oos? Why you like this fucking Niners? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And fuck the Raiders. It was so that has to be across the board. Whether it's in media, whether it's in content creating, whatever you guys are doing, we have to use social media to our advantage. Yeah. We have to use these content creators, any opportunity we can to our advantage, because if we don't do it, the thing that we didn't record could be the next viral video. The thing that we had an idea about could be the next Shark Tank idea that we didn't do. Because there's a lot of stuff on Shark Tank, like, I thought of that a long time ago. Every day, and now they're making all this money. So if we don't do it, somebody's going to do it. Yeah. So why not it be you?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll never forget, remember when we went to WrestleMania, the kickoff? And we walk in there, right? First of all, we went through a way different entrance.
Yeah.
I mean, we walk in there, we get our wristbands. There's like, all right, you're going to the media section in front of the stage. Me and him walk in there, and we're looking around. It's all these reporters, you know, set up right there with your cameras. It was funny. Me and him walk in there, 2 big s'mores. We look out of place. So we get up there. We're in the front row. Here comes The Rock and Roman Reigns. Yep. Instead of being professional, we fanboyed out. It was freaking hilarious. But, we're in the media section, and The Rock, we actually got it on camera. Yeah. The Rock saw us. We actually said Malo and what Roman Reigns do, kind of acknowledged us. And them looking at us in the media section was like, bro, we're the only ones in media. Yeah. And them to see it, was kind of like
But that makes the media around you like, who the hell is these guys? Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah. Rock and them they paid no attention to us, but they said what's up to these two.
Well, they were all looking at us, too.
They must be their cousins or something. But it's like we always got to play that card because our spaces are limited. Yeah. Whether it's in media, whether it's in whatever these professions are, our space and our presence is limited. Yeah. Unless we do something about it. Yeah. And I think we're all in this space doing something about it. Like, people know who Simone Raider is. People know who Fitz is. People know who Big Bidy Cisco is because we're putting ourselves out there. Yeah. There's a method to the madness and there's a way to do it. If you use social media for the good, you can do it. If you guys are in DMs for no reason because their wives are, let me stop. But at the end of the day, we got to take advantage of this social media world that we're living in, because if we're not, like I said before, somebody else will.
Yep. Exactly. Well, that being said, man, I appreciate you, making some time for us, Usos.
Absolutely.
And we'll definitely be there tomorrow for your birthday party. And
watch how it fits, because he orders too many bottles. So he's like, oh, come get one of these bottles. Like, all right. And then I don't remember what happened the next day. So,
well, I don't even remember half that night. My wife showed me a video actually last week of me sitting in Denny's at the table with a small trash can, throwing up at the table while everybody's eating.
Hey, but you know what I got to thank He gave me a Frank Gore autograph jersey. I thought it was a Niner one. Then he brought the Miami one. I said, you know what? I knew he wasn't holding on to a Niner one that long, but I appreciate it because that's going up in the shop. So we better have that there too.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, my brothers.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. We here. Ninth Island, baby. Big Body. We here.
Yes, sir.